Hi guys. This week we're going to look at getting your script sold, or the things that could impact it, getting your script sold. I saw a course being offered by someone called Getting Your First 10 Pages Right. And they were really heavily leaning into the idea that, I'm going to do it at the front, all the things, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, all those things. I'm getting out up front for once. There you go, far more professional. They were saying getting your first 10 pages right is all important. It is, and it isn't. People can still stop reading at page 11. Okay. The idea is, and this is like with everything, making a good first impression. I mean, if I'm going to get a job, and I know the corporate culture is very suit and tie, not t-shirt, I'll wear a suit and tie to the interview. It's no good turning up in a t-shirt and some of my ripped jeans or whatever, sweatpants, and saying, well, when I get the job, I'm going to wear my suit. I'm going to put forward a professional image once you hire me. No, the first impression is all important. If someone reads a couple of pages in and they're like, oh, this is so boring, why isn't anything happening? Or I hate this character, or this world is so unbelievable, this makes no sense. You've lost them. And it's harder to win them back. It's much harder to win anyone back. In marketing, I had a friend that worked for a large corporation, big bank. And he used to say it costs 7 times more to get a new customer than it does to sell a product to an existing customer. So they used to spend just as much money on existing customers as they did new customers. The logic behind that, from our point of view, from writers' point of view, is if we've got them on board in the first few pages, we don't have to work hard to keep impressing them. But if we start off with a crap story, we have to work twice as hard to get them back on board. The Lord of the Rings. I've never read the book The Lord of the Rings. And I said to my brother, who's read literally thousands of books, until recently used to keep his essential 1500 in his house. He said, Lord of the Rings is great, you should read it. And I said, I've read the first 100 pages. I just can't get past the birthday party. It is just so flowery, so long-winded, it doesn't work for me. And he used to say, oh, okay, get through the first 110 pages and the next 1,000 pages are a car chase. It's so exciting, it's such a great story. For me, okay, a lot of people did get past, they've got more of an attention span than this broken individual, and they got past 110 pages. Too much of a slog for me. Couldn't do it. So I missed out on that next 1,300 pages of car chasing excitement, swashbuckling, love. But same thing with your script. Some people say the first 10 pages. I say it's the first paragraph or two. If that's good, people will read the end of the page and they're excited to turn to the next page. And once they're on your side, you don't have to keep the excitement level up here. You've just got to get them on your side. Once they're on your side and they know they're in good hands, this story started off really good. Oh, it's getting a bit boggy down here. It's making me think a bit. I don't know why. Maybe something good's coming because they're on your side, right? So it's not your first 10 pages. It's your first 105, 110, 120, however long your script is. I've always said I come in about 100 or a bit shorter. So you've got to start strong. You've got to start good. But you can't say, oh, I've got a great 10 pages. Now I've just got to be okay. No, you've got to be great the entire time. But your opening is very, very, very important. Your first page, your first opening images. Try to make your first page as, pretty is the wrong word, but familiar and pretty as possible. So don't start with huge, big chunks of text. That's a bit boring. Unless it's super important. And as soon as I've said that, I can hear people going, oh yeah, my one's super important. It's really super important that you get the whole history of the Squawk-a-Bark-a-Lark-a-Bin planet and the who's of what's it people and I guarantee it's not that important. I've said it before, I've cut pages of screenplays and it's made them better. For what I thought was important wasn't important. And your screenplay format. A format's not a rule. No one's going to come into your house, drag you out, handcuff you, take you some Black Ops base and torture you because you used bad screenplay formatting. Screenplay formatting to someone who's used to reading screenplays is virtually invisible. I guarantee that you really couldn't explain to me the formatting of a newspaper. But when you look at a newspaper, it automatically makes sense. You know where the columns are, you know how to read them. Is there always an image on the front page of a newspaper? Is it a big banner? Is it a square off to the side? I'm not really sure, because you've looked at them your entire life, you're comfortable with it, they become virtually invisible to you, you read them. Same as web pages. Web pages are virtually invisible to people. People know how to pull information off web pages now because we're used to the format of how the web works. A screenplay is the same thing. It becomes virtually invisible to people who read a lot of screenplays. If you're new to screenplay reading, it's not invisible to you. You're still, that's action, oh, there's dialogue, or it's parenthetical in the middle of that. Could that have been this? Or what's an intercut mean? But to a person who reads a lot of screenplays, it's virtually invisible. So use that invisibility to give them pleasing little short, sharp sentences, things that are evocative, things that make them lean in. I can't remember. I'm trying to think of a great screenplay that starts really well. I always say Hell and High Water starts good. The Dark Knight starts good. Hancock, He Comes Tonight, didn't start great, but it was all right. Read screenplays. You'll find the ones that start really well. That opening image, the thing that makes you understand where you are or what you're seeing. Some people go, oh, I want a bit of mystery. Or how long is it before I have to tell them who the main character is? The only time I've done something that was a little bit interesting is in the movie Amy, because I actually heard John August say it's impossible to write a good police interview because they've all been done before, we've all seen them before. So I wanted to do one that's a bit different. The starting of Amy is you see Amy slumped back in a chair. She doesn't care. She's not listening to the policeman. He's on the other side. He's reading the file. He's being all sort of... He knows he's in charge. He's leaning over. He's doing this sort of stuff. And she's pretending she's got no interest in it. And then he says something. And she looks at him. And he slides his card across the table to her. And she grabs it. He gets up, knocks on the door. The door opens. A policeman appears. And she walks out. There's no dialogue in that scene. The entire time, or we hear a conversation, but it's all in voiceover. It's a telephone conversation between Amy and someone else, and she's lying about what's happening in the interview. You know, where have you been? Oh, nowhere. I've just been doing this, doing that. So we know that she doesn't want the people to know that she was being interviewed by the cops. We still don't know the content of the conversation the cops were having with her. And then it cuts to her, then an intercut conversation between her and a guy called Isaac. No, it wasn't Isaac. It doesn't matter. So I wrote that to get people to lean in, to sort of go, oh, that's interesting. That whole thing is a page and a half, 2 pages. Then we meet her sister. Then we meet Doug, her boss. Then we meet Beth, his girlfriend. Then we meet Isaac. Her sister gets sent and kept with a drug dealer. She gets given a car. She has to drive down and see someone else called Carl. That all happens in the first 10 pages. It's all packed in. So your first 10 pages are important, but then the story of Amy couldn't fall apart. It had to keep going. But I had a little bit more liberty then because I'd kicked a lot of questions off, started a lot of characters, got a lot of things going. People were leaning in. They understand what Amy was. They understand that she was arguing with her girlfriend Sue, who'd moved away, and they were trying to reconcile their relationship. There was a lot happening in those first 10 pages. Not enough that you can't get your breath, but enough threads for a person may want to pull them. But I had to maintain it for the rest of them. And that's it. The first 10 pages are important. It was a bit of a rant, I know, as every week is. So make sure that quick recap, make sure that your first page is appealing, that it's not going to be a slog. It's not going to turn people away because it's easier to get a liberty later on than it is to win someone back. So if your first page can be as appealing and as easy to read as possible, and that it's of a high quality, giving people plenty of information, you're making your formatting as invisible as possible, so they're just absorbing your story. There's nothing in the way between them. You're not pulling them out of the story. If you can achieve that, nice, easy to read, good, well formatted, because there's not a rule, it just helps you. A good story that's engaging, gets all your dominoes lined up so you can push them and your story can knock them over as it goes along. Your first 10 pages will be good. If your first 10 pages are good, they'll keep reading the rest of the story. But if page 11 is crap, it may as well be page 1 is crap. People will stop reading. So it's not a focus on the first 10 pages, but if they're really good, they help you. Okay? So if your plate is really clean and someone gives you a meal, it's going to be okay. If you've got a dirty plate to put a meal on it, it's still not going to be pleasant. So your first 10 pages are like the plate. It's the base for a really good meal. If it's done well, they'll keep going. But the meal itself can be terrible. So the first 10 pages do not guarantee you success. As always, and thanks for listening. Keep writing. Bye, guys.